We're live at Expert35. So good to be back, talking about the challenges, the hardship, and the opportunities. Well, the last couple of months, year, it's been such a challenging world for the parents, but even more for the students. We've been transitioning into remote learning. Now we're starting to transition back to school, but we've seen so many children fall behind, so many children struggle. It's just such a different world. You know, it was a new way of doing business, also a new way of learning. Couldn't think of anybody better to have on the show than Jennifer. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, Jennifer, you're the owner of Counters Tutoring Connection, so you're kind of helping people kind of deal with all this process. Before we jump into this, how did you get into tutoring and helping people get through this?
So I started tutoring kind of just really honestly out of necessity. I was a single mom. I was a full-time teacher. I am a certified teacher in the state of Texas. And I just wasn't really making enough as a teacher. As many teachers know, you often have to have a part-time job and do something to help supplement your income. So that's how I started tutoring. I started with one student going into their home. And then over the course of the next few years, I started adding more students. And then I just realized that I could make a business out of this. And when I left my teaching career, I jumped full-time into tutoring. At that time, I was, doing it, from libraries and coffee shops and various places. And I just had a few people working for me. And then now fast forward to where we are now, we do have a brick and mortar building, and we help students from about 16 or 17 area school districts. We're stationed in Katy, Texas, but we do help students from all over. We even have a couple students from out of state, and we've had some international students too during the pandemic. And we service children on all different levels. We give academic support for kindergarten all the way through college and all subjects.
That's amazing. And it's true. It's so hard to be, a teacher, and, you're spending so many of your resources trying to help, and really building this business, I think, is a great asset to help everybody. Before we jump into it, text Expert76 to get our contact info. If you want to join the conversation, you can text Expert35. We'd love to hear what are you interested in learning about next? Like, where are we going? How is business changing? How are online networking occurring? We used to have 35 experts. We're at Expert76. So Jennifer, thanks for being on the show again.
Oh, thanks again. Thanks so much.
No, I think it's just such an interesting world of remote learning. And you, I'm sure, had to pivot through this process.
Yes,
what are some of the things that are changing? What's happening?
So we definitely had to make a huge pivot. We were traditionally an in-person tutoring center. Although I started my business going into people's homes, when I transitioned into our own tutoring center, we then brought all the students into the tutoring center. And then when the pandemic hit and the county came in and told us that we had to close, then we had to make a huge pivot to transition all of our students to online learning. Thankfully, I have a great, team of tutors and administrative staff that was able to, help me, and we were able to push together and to do what we needed to do to help our students to continue their academic progress. Still there? So I'm just thinking, I think one of the most important things about, when we're thinking about this year and we're thinking about learning for students, is that it was a huge learning curve for the teachers to transition from in-person teaching to then online learning. And so, there has to be a lot of grace given there. The teachers did a tremendous job. All teachers just across the board, have done their best to learn what they needed to do to be able to offer instruction to their students. And I think we also need to be mindful that it was a huge challenge for the students as well. The students were used to going to school every day and seeing their teacher, regardless of if they were in elementary school all the way through high school and even college. And they had to get used to logging on every day and seeing their teachers virtually, and their whole school setting changed. Their whole means of how they received information and how they were learning completely changed. And I think that we have to also be mindful of that and extend a lot of patience to our students. and just support them and help them understand that this was not something that any of us saw coming, and that we all just did the best that we could to make, the best of a very difficult situation.
Hey, Jennifer, this is Greg. How are you, can you hear me?
Hi, Greg. I can hear you. I think I lost.
Let me fix my camera. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg. I think we're having, I typically work behind the scenes. We're having a little technical difficulties. Gabe got bounced out. So I'm just going to pick up where we left off. So thanks Jennifer, for continuing to hold the fort while we try to get this figured out.
Hold on 1 second, Greg. I can't hear you. I'm going to try to turn up my volume. Okay, can you say something now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. So I was just saying thank you so much for holding fort down while we try to get these.
That's okay.
While we try to get this all lined out. So yeah, so I think we have some questions here, and actually I had a question. So because of the pandemic, like what are you seeing? Like how far behind are students actually, as compared to where they should be?
I mean, I think it's different for every grade level, but especially our younger elementary students. We see a good majority of those at our tutoring center, and in my personal experience and just in talking to the other tutors, the younger elementary students are, significantly behind, especially when it comes to the reading aspect. It's difficult for students to learn to read through a computer, to be present with somebody who can, be there next to you and who can, help you understand how to sound out the words, and how to, understand the components of even first starter books. So I think that we're seeing that a lot of students are behind. I think our middle school, high school students are equally struggling as well, in different areas. We've seen a lot of students in the math and middle school and high school that are struggling. I think that learning online maybe in the beginning was, okay, because you don't have to really get dressed for school, or you don't have to go to school every day, but you weren't physically present with your teacher face to face. And instead of having a big whiteboard that your teacher's teaching on, you then have a very small screen and you're trying to, understand what the teacher's doing. And something else I want to point out is a lot of online learning, teachers were actually teaching online and at the same time teaching in person. So they may have had a classroom with 15 students and they would teach the lesson to those students, and then they would turn around and they would tell those students work independently, and then I'm going to get online with these students. So it's kind of like putting out two fires at the same time. I heard from a lot of classroom teachers that was a very, very a difficult time, because they were worried if they were meeting the needs of their students and if they were delivering quality education and quality instruction, but also just the stress that it put them under. And like with all things, if the teacher's stressed and the teacher's, struggling with the lesson or struggling with how to, deliver it effectively, the students are going to feel those stressors as well. So I think that, to answer your question, I think that students are behind in different academic areas, just across the board in all grade levels and all subjects.
I'm back. I don't know how that happened, but I was.
Hey.
Such great information, and it's so challenging, right? Like we're saying, you almost feel like everybody's fallen back behind, not just like low income, not just the resources, but
yes,
such a stress on the entire population. What are our options kind of moving forward?
So I think our options moving forward are definitely, we need to have a dialogue. We need to have some dialogue inside the home. So I strongly encourage my parents that come to the tutoring center, or any parents that I know with children of all ages, to ask your student, how are you feeling about this last year? Do you feel like, you learned what you needed to learn to be successful, to go on to the next grade? And listen for your children to be honest with you. If they tell you, I hated school, or I didn't know what I was doing, or, I miss seeing my friends, or I don't feel like I learned enough, or I feel like I'm behind, listen to what they're saying and then help form a plan from there. If you have the financial means to seek out a tutor or to get someone to work with your student, then yes, by all means, please do that. Local schools are a great resource. If you'll check with the counselors, a lot of school districts keep a running list of tutors. Some of those are tutoring centers like my own, and some of them are just independent tutors, teachers that may be tutor on the side. If you can't afford a certified teacher, then maybe, seek out a high school student or a college student that has done well academically in the past and can help your student. I'm speaking, of course, for the younger students. If you have a high school student who's struggling and tutoring centers or certified instruction is too expensive, then, ask around family and friends and see if they have a college student who's home for the summer who would like to earn some extra money. A college student who did well in the previous years of high school who could maybe help tutor your student in Algebra 1 or geometry or, freshman English, to fill in any learning gaps, but also to get the students ahead. Anytime you can introduce new concepts to students before they see them at school, that's a huge confidence curve, and it really helps the students kind of walk in a little bit ahead of the game.
Well, and earlier offline we were talking about this, that the reason some of the children fell behind too is because they didn't have the right resource at home. Like maybe it was an older sibling that was only a year or two older,
sure,
that was in charge of them going to school. So you felt like elementary school kids, like who's falling behind the most, and like what are those things that we can tweak?
I would say if I had to pick two populations that are falling behind the most, I would pick our early elementary readers, in my opinion. And then I would also say our high school math students. There are some free resources that are available. I know that Khan Academy has free videos online, especially for math, that can assist you with learning different math concepts. And I know that if, you just do a search engine on your computer, there are a lot of worksheets and things out there for math computation for the lower grades, and also reading passages for students. Amazon is a great resource. You can go to Amazon and put in your grade level for your student, and there are different books you can buy that range from about $5 to $15. I tell the parents, just rip out the answer keys in the back. And, if you want your student to work a page or two at a time and then check them with them. And then also that's a great time for you guys to have some dialogue and to talk about, I see that you missed these problems that were involving division. So let's maybe go over division together. Or again, like I was saying, maybe find another student a little bit older than them who can work through some of those problems with them. So there are some free resources, obviously on the internet. There are some paid resources. You can purchase workbooks. If it comes just to regular reading, you're able to, even if your library isn't open, a lot of libraries are allowing you to order books online. And then you can either go by the library and pick them up, or I've even heard some libraries are even shipping them out. So reading is a huge component for especially our younger students in elementary school. Even having your student read for 20 minutes a day, and then asking them thoughtful questions about what they're reading. Who are the characters in the story, and what's the setting? Where's the story taking place? And how do you think the character feels? And you can even use it as, to point out grammar and different things within the story to assist with their writing as well.
No, super important to really get involved and have those conversations. My favorite part of the show is we talk about 3 things we can really start doing it. And I feel like we've already kind of touched on some of these, but just summarize it up. And I've got your logo up on there as well, so people can keep
Thank
track.
you.
But
yeah, I think 3 things that we can do is definitely have conversations with our students within our own homes about their progress and how they're feeling about their education, but also continue that conversation and keep that dialogue open with your student's teacher when they start school. And also the second thing is resources. There are a lot of free resources out there, but also if you have the financial means to purchase some resources or to get your student involved in tutoring, you can just do a Google search and for local tutoring centers in your area. And then also for support at home. As the student transitions on to another school year, what does that look like? Does that mean that you're going to be practicing math facts with them and purchasing, flashcards and practicing basic math at home? Or does it mean that you're going to devote a certain time every week to extend their learning and incorporate that into their summer routine? So there's, I would say, conversation, resources, and then support at home.
So timely, so important. I mean, I think we are all learning. It was so much stress put on the parents, on the children.
Sure.
That stress is added pieces. I've got a great question. Somebody's asking, does virtual tutoring produce the same results as in person? I think that's really important.
That's a great question. That's a great question. It's a question I get asked a lot when parents call in and they want to enroll their student in tutoring. And I tell the parents, it has a lot to do with the individual child. How well can your student focus? What is their willingness to learn? So if you have a student who really wants to learn or get ahead, and you have a child who's able to focus well and able to take instruction virtually, then yes, I think it could be very successful. We have some students who only tutor with us virtually, and they do very well. And then we have some students who, the online thing, it stresses them out. They don't feel like they're getting as much out of it. They get bored easily. They get distracted easily. There's a lot of distractions at home, and those things play a big role too in the effectiveness of the tutoring. So I would say that if your student is going to tutor online, to make sure that the environment that they're in is most conducive for learning. So make sure it's a quiet environment, minimize the distractions. And if you need to kind of be present and somewhere in the area for the first lesson, even for your smaller children, just to make sure that they're logged on, that they're understanding, that they're able to see the resources that the tutor is sharing. But I do think that can be very effective, especially for our high school kids and our older middle school kids. They're very technology savvy. They like being on computers and iPads and laptops and things like that. So for a lot of them, it's very comfortable for them. I think it's really just depends on the individual student and the tutor as well, the effectiveness of the tutor as well.
So important. And again, text Expert36 to get in contact with Jennifer. You guys do like an assessment and you talk to the parents and this child, and you really find like the right balance. It's not just like, here's a tutor, good luck. I mean, it really is like a balancing act of finding the right resources, right?
Yes, it is. It is. So I tell the parents when they call, I'm kind of a matchmaker in that respect, that I ask a lot of questions. I want to make sure that we understand where the student currently is, where they're coming from, but also where they're going. So we want to make sure that we pair them up with a tutor and that we really make that connection. That's why that's in my company name. It's important to me. I want the student to be able to absorb the information from the tutor, and I want that person to be able to support them from week to week so that we can help see their academic progress and help push them along to wherever it is that they're going.
Perfect. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
I think this is going to be kind of like the next frontier is like, how do we get back in place? How do we catch up to what we lost?
Yes.
And I think a lot of parents probably are just hoping that, school will take care of it, but it won't. Like, we take care of it. We have to build that community of learning at home. And
sure.
And then there's resources kind of like your, tutoring connection that they can look for. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
We'd love to hear what else is going to be happening. Maybe we'll bring you back in a couple of months. Obviously, the summer's a little different.
Sure, right? I'd love to.
But 2021 school year, 2022 is going to be hopefully a whole new different game. And hopefully we learned a lot about, where these cracks are and where people are getting left behind, and we can move forward.
I agree. I think we're all hopeful as educators and parents that everybody moves ahead and that we have a great year of progress this year.
Thank you so much. We'll hope to see you soon.
Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
That was Jennifer Counter. Such important information. It was so hard to really stay in the groove when you're working, when you're away, because you had to be at work and your child was at home. I think it really does put a lot of information on who we are and what the world is now changing to, and hopefully a better appreciation for teachers. Thank you, teachers. We know we have a lot of teachers on the show. We know we have a lot of teachers that watch this, and now we have a lot of parents that have become teachers. So hopefully this was informative and a great way to start the conversation again. Text Expert36 to learn more about Jennifer. If you want to join our conversation, text Expert35. I'm Gabriel Garcia.
Educated in difficult times. We collaborate at Expert35.
This is for a better tomorrow and a better today. Let's come together and together we will find a way. You got questions, we got solutions. You got problems, we got resolutions. Visit Expert35.com. No need to worry, just remain calm. No more pain, no more sorrows. We provide solutions for a better tomorrow. No more pain, no more sorrows. We provide solutions for a better tomorrow. We educate during difficult times. We collaborate at Expert35. This is for a better tomorrow and a better today. Let's come together and together we will find a way. You got